she doesn't get it, and she's not gotten it yet. So again, it's
Good.
like it's not crazy to have two kids in the same household. But please,
and this segment was sponsored by Hand, Foot, Mouth.
Oh yeah, sponsored by something. I told you before. I'm just so happy to be upstairs working with my door locked and just. I love my family. You know how much I love my family.
But let's talk shop. Let's talk shop.
Let's talk golf. Good God. Worldwide Technology Championship. We have Austin Eckroat, a 2-time winner on the PGA Tour now, shoots 63 on Sunday, despite bogeying the par 5 18th, where we saw a little bit of intrigue last year. Eric Van Rooyen winning, making, I think I got that right, made an eagle on 18 to win the thing. And it was maybe a little bit in play here as well. Carson Young had a shot, made it on the green in 2 on 18, 2 shots back of Austin Eckroat, had a tricky eagle putt, but eagle putt nonetheless, misses it, and Austin wins by a shot over Justin Lauer and Carson Young for his second tour win. Also won the Cognizant in Palm Beach back in March. So, I mean, this is Austin Eckroat. Back then we talked about, his talent, his amateur pedigree, guy who played Oklahoma State, I believe. So Oklahoma or Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State,
yeah. So, I mean, a second tour win, even in the fall, for me, this feels like a guy that has a ton of game and continues to trend as far as the young American stars go.
Absolutely. And this is what I talked about after he won the Cognizant, that the game just comes very naturally to him. For some guys, it just doesn't look that hard. Like when you watch Russell Henley go play golf, it just doesn't look hard. They just find the center of the face. They find the fairways. And for Austin Eckroat, when I played with him before, when I watch him, that's what it looks like. And he was one player too, Charlie, where I was playing in a U.S. Open sectional qualifier. And this was in Dallas. And this is like right when he had finished up at Oklahoma State. He's trying to go, make to the U.S. Open, get his professional career kick started nicely, and we're paired together. And I was fighting for my life out there. Like I am hitting it all over God's green earth, but I still have a chance to make the U.S. Open. Like I'm doing things that would not shock you, right? Like like my ones that go out of play, stay in play, make a par, but then on the other holes I hang in there. Austin played the exact same hole every time. It was just like fairway, green, putt. It was just so simple. So not surprised to see since then him being able to make it to the PGA Tour and already winning twice. But the other thing too, when we just talk about the FedEx Cup fall, I think any of the guys inside that 125 number are loving a guy like Austin Eckroat winning this golf tournament. They want the points to go to the guys who are already in the signature events next year. And I don't know why, like it makes sense, right? Like that there's, guys that play that are in the signature events next year. They go and play these events, and it's not shocking to see them win, right? Because there's no pressure. All they're playing for is money, official world golf ranking points, and just going to play golf. So not shocking to see Austin Eckroat win.
Yeah, and you note something there that we're going to get into. There was, when we're talking about the off the course type of storylines, there was a lot of chatter about the changes we've been talking about on tour that are upcoming, that are going to be voted on shortly by the policy board in terms of less tour cards being available, some field size changes, things like that. And there were even comments this week by Justin Lauer after his third round about, he's a guy where, to your point, Austin Eckroat, he's safe. He's in signature events next season. It would have meant a lot more to a guy like Justin, and he's not a fan of the new changes. Not shocking. But to just kind of continue a little bit on the Worldwide Technology Championship before we delve into that, one of my favorite tropes on the show is to refer back to the 2021 Walker Cup that I went to at Seminole and just reference all the guys on that team and how much fun I had that week. I got to go back to I got to play the hit, Smylie. I got to go back to that every single time I can. And so, Austin Eckroat on that team. Another thing we love to do on the show is play a little comparison games, little prediction games, things of that nature. So here's what I got for you today. All right. Austin Eckroat, prior to this win, I believe was 59th in the OWGR. Did some quick back of the napkin math. I think he should be about 43rd after this win. Just talked about he's won twice on tour now. Another guy on that American team, Davis Thompson, entering the weekend 39th in the OWGR, has the one win on tour, of course, this summer at the John Deere. So I want to play a little predict the future for these two guys who are both young Americans. We've talked about, maybe they can end up on teams someday. So the three questions I have for you is between Austin Eckroat and Davis Thompson, who do you think has more wins on the PGA Tour in 5 years? Do you think either of these guys makes a national team? And if so, who do you think makes it first? And do you think either of these guys wins a major at any point?
I think Davis Thompson's ceiling is higher.
Okay.
So I think that would potentially translate, you would think, to a guy making an international team, because you have to be that good to make an American team. So I would lean Davis Thompson there. But Austin Eckroat's just like consistency and how easy the game is to him. I think he'll find himself in contention in a lot. There's no really weaknesses to his game, where Davis, I would say the putter would be the one thing that he needs to continue to work on. And what's the third? Did I miss?
Just most wins in 5 years. Do we see on a President's Cup or Ryder Cup team at any point?
It'll be Davis. Davis would be the guy. He's I don't even know how to compare him to really anybody that's an American right now, because you don't really know him, right? Like Davis is he's just really good at golf. He's much more introverted than, an extroverted guy. So, but from a talent standpoint, man, God, we saw this right after the John Deere, right? Like we went and said, like, all right, let's see, what Davis Thompson has done this year. Let's check his stats. And we're like, what? Like, these stats are incredible.
Your main event, tail of the tape for Battle of the Giants. Francis Ngannou, 38 years of age. Reina Ferreira is 34. Francis standing 6 feet 4 inches tall. That's usually the bigger man, but tonight he'll face a man who is 6 foot 8. Reina weighed in heavier, has the longer reach on arms and legs.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. The reason I wanted to ask you is to get that sort of unpacking of each of their sort of games and their profiles and things like that, because they both strike me as sort of understated to a certain degree, and guys that are talented. But then you're looking at the last couple of years of collegiate golf, and of course you have a guy like Gordon Sargent who's about to make his pro debut, and there are others in the pipeline. Nick Dunlap, of course, winning as an amateur at the Amex, and now he's in that sort of young American star category. But guys that are easily overlooked, but now a collective 3 wins between the two of them, and not spending a ton of time on the PGA Tour. And so, I mean, it's I think both have. I do agree with you as well. I think just looking at both of them play, Davis clearly has a high ceiling. Or higher ceiling, but I think both guys can end up being sort of steady, especially if they just continue on the same track in this next year. Could end up on some of those teams at the latter half of the roster.
Yeah, I just look at Davis Thompson's stats. Just so I know, I just referred to him. I'll just give them to you. Like strokes gained total, Davis Thompson 8th on the PGA Tour, tee to green 13th, off the tee 48, so not bad there. Approach the green 36th, around the green 3rd. Longest drives 444 yards. So I don't know if that hit Carpath a couple times, but I don't know. I think you've definitely been one to play the trumpet or play whatever tune you want to about young guys making President's Cup teams, but really what it's going to take for a Davis Thompson or a Nick Dunlap or an Austin Eckroat, Minwoo is not an American, but for one of these guys to make a Ryder Cup team, they got to play so dang good.
So good.
We're talking about at least 2 wins and, playing really well in the majors, right? Like they almost need to win a major to find themselves on that team.
Well, I forgot to list like Akshay Bhatia in there. Like there are a lot of young guys.
There's another example,
right there, just kind of knocking on the door. But that core that's been, the nucleus of those U.S. teams that's sort of grown up and now they're not old, but a lot of them are kind of in that late 20s, kind of moving into the early 30s sort of phase, is, it's going to take a lot to knock those guys off, given how well they played historically and how much experience they have in these competitions. So, but I'm you know how I am. I'm always trying to kind of get a young guy in. I'm trying to get some fresh blood in. So just figured it was a worthwhile topic of conversation. Another American who's in his 20s, in his late 20s, but worth mentioning as a guy who did not win this weekend, Max Grazerman. How about this for Max Grazerman's last 6 starts?
Boy, he's been playing good.
3M solo second, Wyndham solo second, and then the 2 playoff events, FedEx St. Jude tied for 33rd, BMW tied for 28th. Obviously did not make it to East Lake. And then his falls calendar ties for second at the Zozo, and then solo 4th this weekend at the Worldwide Technology Championship. It was like in the mix there for a while. So, I mean, I guess finishing top 5 is better than not finishing top 5, but the flip side of like, how do you do that so many times but not end up hoisting a trophy at the end of one of these tournaments?
Yeah, well, I talked to his coach, Jeff Smith, and another guy, Jonathan Fly, who's also underneath.
Oh, Jay Fly.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Jay Fly.
That's our guy.
Talked a little bit about Max Grazerman, and I think the one thing taking away from the Wyndham Championship, where if you were watching that, and a lot of people had turned the TV off and already chalked up the win to Grazerman after that hole out eagle on the 13th hole, hits it out of bound at 14, makes an 8, and ends up, I believe, 4 putting on 17. It was a lot of putts. Or 16, I should say.
Yeah.
But the one, there's 2 ways you can look at it, right? Like, first off, how did he handle himself after? And the fact that he did an interview after, was able to self-reflect and say, you know what, it was an unfortunate deal, made a bad swing, wrong time, wasn't able to get it done. I thought that showed a lot of toughness, a lot of just, owning for, this is professional sports. He's a young guy, could have easily walked away. So right then and there, I'm like, okay, that's a check mark for Max when I go and see him. So I'd see him the next week in Memphis before the week starts. And I'm like, man, great plan. That's took a lot of guts to go do that interview. And you know what? It even took more guts was for him to then be like almost dead last at Memphis and then goes on a run to eventually make it to the BMW. So he was way out of it and then just played so well over the weekend to make it to the signature event. So now he's had this house money and has basically been able to continue to work on his form. If you go look at his golf swing too, it's incredible. We mentioned this back, I believe it was right around the Wyndham, was that Jay Fly told us that he's got scoliosis in his back and that he actually has so much left side bend on the way back that they actually have to like try to get him underneath on the way back, which is very opposite for a lot of people. Most people get, 2 turn and 2 underneath, and he's the opposite. So he actually has to feel very underneath, which is unusual for guys with speed on the PGA Tour. So with that being said, Max is on a heck of a run, and another player too, right? That is a young American that's got plenty of talent, and he was playing with somebody down in Florida recently that I just talked to. I don't know if it was JT. It was some guy that plays out maybe at the Medalist, and Grazerman was a guy that he was always playing with him. He didn't have status yet, but he was always the one winning the money. So I think a lot of PGA Tour players, especially guys down in South Florida, are not surprised to see Max play well.
All right, here's what I want you to do, and I want as many people out there who are listening to this or watching this to do as well, because this was the most out of left field observation that Amanda made while watching this tournament with me. Is she said, that guy looks like Rory McIlroy. I was like, what? And then I Googled Max Grazerman, and I Googled Rory McIlroy, and you know what? They could be like cousins. It's not insane. It's like they could be from the same family-ish, like extended. I'm not saying exact doppelgangers. I'm not saying brothers, but I'm saying if you told me they were related, it wouldn't shock me. Do you have them up right now? Are you doing a little?
I'm going to pull Rory up.
Okay.
Just to kind of give it a full deal.
Yeah. Like just to kind of, is it crazy or is there something there?
It's his like eyes to the nose thing. Everything else, I don't see it. But if you like just covered his like the middle of his nose. And then you just saw the rest and took away Chrome Tour, and you maybe threw a Nike hat there and just saw the top of his ears, it'd be like, that's Rory. So
okay,
you see what I'm doing
that's
there?
something. Yeah, I see what you're doing. I'm doing a little bit over here too. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You're dead right.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have a Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The reaction to some of these tour card number changes and field size changes not been as kind as maybe some would have liked it to be in terms of response from players. So I just have a selection of quotes to read you here from several players on tour, or former players on tour. So this is Justin Lauer. Is actually a really emotional interview on Saturday, holding a share of the lead at the Worldwide Technology Championship, and kind of starts about how much a win would mean to him. But then in the back half of the response says, "I hate all the changes they're making. That's a whole nother subject I could rant about for like an hour. Seems like anytime I do something good, they make a change. But yeah, it just means a lot to me. I just want to see how good I can do and prove to myself that I can actually do something in this game." Patrick Harrington, a friend of the show, Wednesday on Golf Today, was asked about it. He says, "It's terrible. It really is. I can't think of how bad it is. At the end of the day, the people who are on the inside are voting to keep the thing tighter and more closed. Sure, why don't we have 12 people involved if I'm included and everyone else can go home? The tour is running just fine. I know there is certain pressure on time to get fields finished when they go to 156 during certain times of year, but players will deal with that. This is one way to solve one of the biggest issues in golf, pace of play, but you want to give everyone the opportunity." And then finally, Lucas Glover, "I thought the proposed plan was asinine like most of our recent changes. Limiting players doesn't help competition. We're the only sport that decreased the number of teams or players. Every other sport has expanded their playoffs or expanded their fields. We're doing the opposite. The tour's job description is to do what's right for the membership, not a few members." Your thoughts on that collection of quotes with regard to the proposed changes that we discussed, and I think generally we seem to like them.
Well, yeah, we've debated it, and I think we do like them, and that's what's difficult about the PGA Tour, right? You got all these individual guys with a lot of opinions. 200 to 225 members you're trying to appease with fields that are tightening and a different world that we're in now in the professional golf landscape. So you have to imagine there are a lot of people that feel that way. But from our perspective as somebody that played the game professionally, was on the tour, in media now, can see both sides of it. I, for one, if I was still playing, would be 100% in the boat of I want every opportunity to play. Now, where I sit now, I don't really see it that way. So it's weird. If you go ask me if I just got done after, shooting 66 out of Vestavia, and I'm like, maybe I could play again. And you say, hey, SK, what do you think about, should there be 100, should there be extra 12 guys at every event? It's like, maybe. But it's
for guys that shoot 60,
such a fine line. And one of the main reasons they talked about was not being able to finish on Thursdays and Fridays. I don't think that's the end of the world, right? I think guys they just want to play. I don't think they really care about finishing that next morning. Sure, they would love to be first off and not have to go and finish in the mornings, but it doesn't take away from the tournament finishing on Sunday. So when it comes to like daylight, I get that you can use that as an excuse, but I think the players that are in the Korn Ferry or wherever would be like, we don't care. Just give us a tee time.
Yeah. I mean, so I have never played on the PGA Tour, so I cannot sit here on this podcast and say that something that, Justin or Padraig or Lucas has said is wrong or incorrect. I mean, I think they're all very much entitled to their opinion given their experience in this game and what they've seen and how they see the systems that work or don't work, right? The observation I'll make is just looking at other people who have commented on this thing. We just had Michael Kim on the show, last week, who is currently 116th in the FedEx Cup standings. And if the system was in place going into next year, would not have his tour card. The proposer of this whole system that could go into effect, Camilo Villegas, 194th in the FedEx Cup standings. Now, I know he won the Butterfield in the last year, so 2 years winner exemption. And again, not a math guy. I'm not sure. Does he get the winner's exemption for this year and next year? Is that correct? Yeah. So, okay. So, but then there you go. So if he doesn't win next year, then he, 2026, the changes go into effect. He doesn't have a tour card. So if there are guys on this tour who are in a position that stand to lose from this proposal, and they're still saying, I think this is a good thing because of what they're trying to address, to me, I have to look at that too and say, well, I don't know. I completely understand the sentiment that you're trying to create opportunities for members and and so if you're cutting down on that, I can see why someone knee-jerk would criticize that. But the whole thing we went through was you're diluting the value of an opportunity by handing out too many tour cards to actually get guys into events. It's all good and fine to give out 125 tour cards and tell 30 guys at the Korn Ferry Tour they're going to come up and play on the big tour. And then when they show up and say, okay, cool, I'm on the tour, can I play in this event? Well, no, you got to wait this week. And you got to wait another week. You got to wait another week. It's like, what was this even for? And that's, I thought Michael said that really eloquently on the show, just explaining why this change is important, so that if I earn my tour card, that means something. I can go play on the PGA Tour.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Quarterly, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we would get it.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to turn to the place we promised at the top of this episode, which is so this is one of my favorite pieces of like golf lore. Like aside from the things that happens on the golf course, you get like these things that happen and different PGA Tour players are interviewed and they remark on it. And the thing that comes out of these closed door meetings, like at least 20% of the time, is how Maverick McNeely is like the smartest person on the face of the earth. And so I saw this story. So this is something last year when we were talking about the signature event changes and the way points are going to be distributed. And you were kind of doing some of this math. You're like, this doesn't make any sense.
No.
This does not make any sense at all. Well,
and we're not a math pod. And I immediately said, there's something wrong here.
That should have been the first red flag.
I spent like an entire day going through the data. And just was mind blowing. I was like, nobody has a chance that's not in the signature events.
Well, you know who else did the same thing is our boy Maverick McNeely. Did a deep dive on this, came up with a better system, just shared it with some friends. Somehow it started making the rounds, circulating, everyone on tours talking about it. He gets invited to join the pack. His wife convinces him to do it in July and goes over this proposal, and they're taking a vote on this in about a week, and it could go into place in 2025. So I find this so fascinating. So he was going through all this, and he found like this really good test case in Corey Connors. So he compared Corey's 6th place finish at the RBC Canadian Open this year and the T20 at the Memorial the following week. And so the 6th at the Canadian Open, he earns 100 FedEx Cup points. Memorial, he gets 97.5 points. So essentially the same thing. We're going to call that a wash, right? Corey, so then he's trying to find a metric to illustrate why this is sort of warped. And he goes to true strokes gained that you can get through data golf. Corey at the Canadian Open was positive 2.78 strokes gained, and the Memorial just 1.78. So it's just like this doesn't make any sense. So his quote here is, if you play the same quality of golf, no matter what tournament you're playing, you should get the same number of points. The purse should be different because, obviously, signature events, you're rewarding guys who have really good years. But I think just because you finish top 50 doesn't mean you should earn more points the following year than the guy who played just as well. So presents this to the tour. The tour says, amazing. They run it through their own set of simulations, do their own research. They come to the exact same conclusion, smooth out the curve, and they're not presenting this on the pack. And Camilo Villegas, his quote is, he's a genius, dude. He dug into the numbers and came up what he thinks is a lot more fair way. We studied the whole situation, and it is fair, so I give him credit for that. And in a nutshell, what the proposal boils down to is a slight increase to second place points for majors. This is something he also found via the data and the players, and a slight decrease in points to positions 11 and beyond for full field events, and a slight decrease to signature event points in positions 7 and beyond. So he just has again, not a math pod. That's your first disclaimer, but just smoothing out those curves as you get 11 beyond in full field, 7 and beyond in signature events, and then increasing points for finishing high in majors. So Smylie, a lot of data, a lot of information I've thrown at you there. Your response to what the homework Mav did and corrected this thing, the issue that you found with this almost immediately.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 things I'll say, and I'll start with this. I'll ask you, is the pack back?
The pack might be back. The Pac-12, the Pac-2, that is not back. The PGA Tour pack, very much back.
They seem back right now. I mean, we have the Camilo sending the email about the changes of the events and how many players are going to be playing in these full field events. And now we have Maverick McNeely basically going full Albert Einstein and figuring out the correct way to have the right distribution curve on these points lists. And so, okay, maybe the pack is back. The second thing I'll say is that in 2017, this would have been my second year on tour. They made an adjustment to the points, and it was much more of the area from about 20 to 35. There was too many points being awarded in that area, and they eventually what they did was take some points away and put more points towards the top. So there were guys that were like, if you were a top 25 machine, like in 2016, which was my rookie year, you were just so many points. So I think this isn't the first time this has happened. And I know that we have a new point system with signature events, so it's not apples and apples comparing, but it's not the first time they've, made a bit of an adjustment to the curve. My thoughts on what Maverick has done, it's like, you don't say. Like, this is what I've been saying, is that this is wrong, and they needed to fix it. So I guess what jumps out at me, and I think that it was obvious that the open field events, when you finish 6th at Canadian Open and you finish 6th, if you finish 20th at the Memorial, are those the same? And we talked about this at the beginning of last year, and I can make an argument. You're playing a tougher field, but you're also playing less guys, compared to 156, there's a cut. So there's a lot of different ways that you can value of, how we got to 6th place versus 20th and which one deserves more points. And that was Maverick's whole argument. It's like, fine, if you finish in the top 50, take the money, take all the money you want, but do not take away points for guys that are playing just as well in an open field event. And that's the biggest argument in this that I completely agree with. So it seems as if strokes gained data is what is somehow the tour is
strokes
saying,
gain.
Which I also, that is now we're using true strokes gain data as complete fact. I know some people have holes in strokes gain data. Right. So, that's a whole different deal. I wondered the
same thing about just looking at relative field sizes and, strokes gained versus baseline. If it's, but again, apparently there's just raw strokes gain data, like for these events. And then I guess within data golf, the true strokes gain corrects for all these sorts of things. And so there's sort of a comparative, you can look at that number and compare it to other events. And for the most part can say that they're, you don't have to do anything to change the data to account for field size or field strength or whatever. But what you said right there is exactly the way I feel. And it's almost like we all know it's wrong. And we all know, simply from the bat, that something didn't make sense. But I think that the piece of intelligence that Mav had that helped distill it was just seizing on what part of it was wrong, and also making an eloquent argument where it's like, hey, I get it. At face value, it seems like you're doing these new events. They have all the best players in the world.
Yeah,
the purse should be bigger, and they should give more points. But being able to kind of split up, all right, we're still playing all these events on tour. And if a guy's playing just as good or better golf in this event, looking at strokes gained, playing against the course, whatever, why are we penalizing that guy? Give the guys in signature events more money. That's completely fair. That's the bonus they earn for finishing top 50. But let's just reward good golf across the entire year in a fair way. And I think that's so much easier to make it make sense for people than trying to compare, does a 6th equate to a 20th, if you're comparing signature events to full fields.
And I think the tour is lucky this year, to be honest. I really do, because I didn't believe that the 50 guys that were going to qualify for the 50 this year. So the guys that made it all the way to the BMW, I really felt like the percentage odds were going to be that 40 or so were going to be the guys that were there last year, which is I know that's a higher number, but I feel like Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele, I feel like they kind of saved the PGA Tour a little bit. They ate up a lot of these points. If this was to go the pack, which is back, by the way, if they do go and pass this through the policy board, I do think that it's a much more fair PGA Tour. And the other side of it too, the things that are being rewarded, which I think is good, is second place for a major should get more points. Like, we know how much more pressure there is in major championships, and that there should be more points allotted to those players. So I like that that's getting a bit of a bump in all this too, and that the curve kind of dwindles down once you get outside the top 10.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the that's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's
looking
what your
down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I thought was interesting too was how, Rory McIlroy, being one of the best ball strikers in the world, just spent 3 weeks in a simulator and didn't even watch where the ball went.
Wild, right? Yeah, I mean that was, and that's kind of the story I have to finish the show. It's not actually not on that topic, but part of that story was just unpacking that whole. I purposely did not want to see any ball flight there. I didn't like his backswing. Wants to make it more repeatable and compact under pressure. Just looking at some of the near misses he's had in recent years, really, really interesting stuff at this stage in the game for him to be changing that. But I mean, it's hard to make a real hard technical motor pattern change during the year. You can kind of work your way to it, but it really does take a long time for your mind to be okay with not having to think about how to do something. It's like, hey, can you turn the light switch off and be able to do it? And your body's going to know whether it's done it or not. And if it hasn't been repped enough, then it's going to revert back to the pattern that you had. So Rory, he actually talked a little bit about this in that Full Swing documentary in the locker room, where he's like, I just feel like I need a full overhaul. I need to start from scratch. And hey, I give Rory a ton of credit this fall, because you see a lot of guys don't even play. They don't do anything. They just play at home. And Rory's, he winning on the DP World Tour and winning his 6th Order of Merit race to Dubai, that means something to him. He wants to be the top European player of all time. So I have to admire his passion for wanting to be the best and working to get to a point to where, hey, I know we haven't won a major in 10 years, but who's to say that he can't pick off 3 or 4 more if he can't get his swing exactly the way he wants it. And
I mean, gosh, I'd love to see it, right? Like, I think we just have so much battle scars as like fans of Rory's.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's Rory. He goes about things in he's very rarely like half in. It's like he's all in on a certain direction. It feels like, whatever that direction is, and he'll let you know about it. And so on the topic of where Rory's playing, another Dylan DeChair story on golf.com, looking at his upcoming schedule this year, we went from a whole overhaul and a whole new schedule this year, set up to play more before majors, playing events he hadn't played in the past to kind of gear up for these majors, to completely going back in a different direction and cutting way down on events. So no Century this year.
That's smart. It's smart, totally. Right? He played too much. Like he played Valero before the Masters, just trying to like find a way to get in rhythm before the Masters. But it just seemed like he had played much, because remember, he plays like overseas at the beginning of the year too.
Correct. And that's why he usually skips a Century every year, is because he's still overseas playing on the DP World Tour. He's not going to play the Cognizant this year like he played last year, or the Valero Texas Open, or a signature event in the RBC Heritage. The one that popped for me the most was he's probably not going to play the first round of the playoffs. He said this to James Corrigan of The Telegraph. I'll probably not play the first playoff event in Memphis. I mean, I finished basically dead last there this year and only moved down one spot in the playoff standings. That to me was like, whoa.
This is why the playoffs, having Rory McIlroy say that, there has to be alarms going off at PGA Tour headquarters saying, we have to change our playoff structure, not next year, now. Like, we can't afford to have Rory McIlroy saying this, because we can't have our number one sponsor seeing Rory McIlroy say that and say, you know what, I can skip this week. I'll see you at the BMW. That to me was such an alarming statement, and one that we've been calling for. We need a restructured playoff system.
I think that there are a lot of different ways that this statement's being read. Among them, people saying this is Rory kind of being fed up with being trotted out by the PGA Tour and being used in a number of different ways, sort of a poster boy, and then things not going the way he wants them to go, which I think is an interesting viewpoint. But that to me is a huge alarm, as you said, in terms of like, if we're going to have guys who are now skipping, we have a 70-player field to have this whole thing structured. And one guy's going to say, I'm good on that elevated purse. I don't really need to. I'll just see wherever the BMW is.
It's not good. That's not good. So we think Memphis should be in the spring anyways. It's too hot in August to have that event. And I don't see the huge difference in FedEx. Like, I know they want to be a part of the last couple events, but really when it comes down to it, like in August, I mean, people are out playing golf. Like, I think in the springtime, it's probably just as advantageous to be a standalone signature event, and you probably have just as good as ratings and get just as good as turnout from. You probably get a much better turnout, honestly, in Memphis than you would in August.
Yeah, I mean, I think you suggested a number of different solves on the show. I don't know where you end up. I mean, obviously, you have the Comcast Business Tour that rewards just in-season performance prior to the playoffs. And then
which we care so much about.
Well, I mean, that's a crazy thing to me. It's like, I
they're paying him you're getting an extra $2 million and nobody knows.
Nobody knows. If I'm Comcast, it stuns me that they haven't like made bigger waves about this whole thing, because it's essentially like, in my mind, I think the last time I talked about it, I equated it to the English, sort of soccer model or football model, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, it's a much bigger deal to win the English Premier League, to hoist that trophy over the course of the season, than to win the FA Cup, the domestic sort of trophy. Now, okay, maybe equated differently because there are players from all over the world playing on the PGA Tour. The Champions League is probably on par with winning a domestic league trophy like the English Premier League, if not more important. So that's, a rebuttal you could provide for the FedEx Cup. But point taken is like, that the season-long trophy that rewards consistency on week to week, like you heard Scotty clamor on about when he showed up at Eastlake this year, should be a big deal. And so like that should be, maybe you increase the size of that purse, or you're just making more publicity around it, whatever. And then having some sort of finale sort of cup tournament, like you suggested, that's like a seeding tournament, whether that's Memphis or the BMW or whatever else. And then we go into Eastlake and it's match play. Just
they'll
anything,
figure it out.
Yeah, I mean,
they're gonna have to change it. Like that was honestly a nail in the coffin of what is already being talked about. They know they need to change their playoffs, and they didn't need Rory McIlroy to add on to one of their biggest sponsors in FedEx, in which we hear a whole lot from them throughout the year. So I can't imagine that they're too happy about that.
Well, I am excited to see Rory at the DP World Tour Championship this week. See that. Do you think it's going to be noticeable swing changes?
Well, we watched it this week.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm saying I didn't. I was preoccupied. I didn't have a lot of time to watch it. Did you notice any? Better phrased. Did you notice any differences with the swing this week?
that was a great question from a hand, foot, mouth expert right there.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Speaking of doppelgangers, the kicker for the Vikings. Apparently, him and I look alike. I had so many people tag me, Will Reichard, with this lettuce in the locker room. Pardon my take, tweeted it. And
yes.
I was like, Fran, does this look like me? She's like, kinda. I was like, all right.
And then our guy Jackson tried to do like one of those face mesh things, and the end result came out looking out more like Justin Thomas than you. I don't know what happened there in the mix. It's very, very strange. But yeah, you could be out there missing field goals to the Vikings.
Okay. So I did offer to. This is all that we're going to speak about this game, the LSU Alabama game. Is that I did say for game day.
I forgot to ask you about that.
We stink. If you want to hear my rant, go back to the LSU Texas A&M 2 weeks ago. Same rant. Just press replay. That's all I'm going to say. But I did offer to Stanford Steve and game day to kick in the Pat McAfee thing, but apparently it's like a legal thing because so much money's been given away. It's got to be actually like lottery picked. But I could have entered as whatever.
A kid like tore his ACL. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I did see that.
There was a kid a couple weeks ago that tore his ACL backstage and had a guy sub in for him. And can you imagine?
I love that.
It's high stakes.
It's a heck of a story.
What do you think the longest field goal is you could make?
I think I can make low 40s.
Low 40s? I think I'm good from 52.
Dude, shut up.
I think I'm good from 52.
Do we need to go film this?
Absolutely. I think I'm getting 52. Like easy.
All right.
Easy.
When we get here, we'll go straight to the high school field.
Do you have you have a field nearby and you can film this?
It's 10 minutes from my house if we need to go film this thing.
Do I need to bring my own ball, or are you gonna have one for me?
I gotta find a ball. I don't have a football.
I gotta bring kicking shoes.
And my shoulder hurts so much from carrying a baby around that I can't throw a football anymore. I can throw those Nerf ones that are like real light, or like the kid miniature ones that are lighter.
Yeah.
But you give me a big football. I watched some guys throwing football on the beach the other day, like having a real good time throwing it. And I'm like, how are their shoulders holding up? That's all I was thinking about.
It's so bad, Smylie. Like at this point in our lives, just with the kids and everything, and trying to work out as well. And you're almost like, I want to go light on this workout because I know I'm gonna have to just, carry my son across the house. And now he wants to be picked up and down, and he wants to dance and jump up and down. It's just whole thing's such a mess. I went and saw our guy. Shout out to Recovery Pin Digby Watt.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to ask you about that.
Oh, good.
You in a better spot?
Where the neck's a lot better. We were in a tough spot with the neck, but we're trending in the correct direction. So,
well, if you can't see, there's a beam holding up my head behind me because my neck hurts so bad.
That's right. You had a similar issue. We're falling apart, dude. With the structural, the musculoskeletal thing, the immune system. It's a tough scene.
It's like when you go to put in your contacts and not contacts. When you go to put like eye drops in, you have to look way up. Like I have to do it from my bed. I have to go lay down and drop my eye drops in.
It's just really
so relatable. I know there's somebody listening to me like, yep, I've been there.
I know that one. Yeah. Golly, I mean, we could do a whole other pod about the ways in which our bodies are breaking down, but that's all I got, Smylie. A surprisingly loaded slate, right?
Yeah.
Any final thoughts of the people? Are you excited about Alabama this week, man?
Yeah,
Birmingham.
happy to have you come down, play some golf.
Kick a 52-yard field goal.
We just kick 50-yard field goal. We just finished up our second Junior Golf Alabama event out of Vestavia Country Club, which I was proudly the host of. Wasn't able to get out on Saturday to watch the kids play because I had the bug, but was able to get out all day today. Watch the kids play. A lot of fun. Shout out to Swag Golf for sending putters to all the 9 division winners. That was really cool of them to do, as well as Strixon for sending over golf balls for all the players. And also a shout out to our director of golf, who today was his last day. He's taking a job up in Wilmington, Elliot Jones. So did a great job at Vestavia, and I want to shout him out. I can't remember the name of the course that he said. The only golf course I know there is Eagle Point. I feel bad that I don't know the name of it. I should know, but sorry on the spot. Don't know the answer.
Yeah, sorry to grill you there. Just North Carolina curiosity. Yeah. Well, yeah, very cool swag and Strixon, and that's another one I had in the notes. Shane Lowry got a full new bag of Strixon gear.
Yeah, I went through his bag to see what he was playing, because I was like, do I need to send a little email to maybe get some more get some new clubs,
some SK Proto irons. We'll have to see about that. Yeah, very good. Well, cool deal for you in the tournament this weekend. Glad the bug didn't hold you down on Sunday. So that's what we got for this week, and we're very excited about the guest that's going to be in the feed this week. Very excited. Do not want to miss this one. Tune in.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma grandma bear who owns the football team probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Fortunately, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Tuesday live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Joe Ranieri. I'm Ben Stevens. We are here together on this Tuesday up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time to look back on the conclusion of week number 10 of this 2024 National Football League season. The second half now officially 1 week underway, and a Monday Night Football finale out in Los Angeles. An impactful game for both teams, squaring off inside SoFi, the Dolphins and the Rams. And where the rest of the NFL stands entering week number 11 in some critical games all week long, and just about 48 hours from now as week 11 starts with a heated divisional duel. We'll go around the association. Only 5 games last night, Joe, because a lot of teams preparing for the debut of the second annual in-season tournament. The hunt for the NBA Cup in the association begins on this Tuesday. Everything you need to know as we learn once again in real time. Some college basketball action to break down, as well as the second week of the season is now here. So much, Joe, over these 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, and then the old proverbial Kansas-Michigan State college hoops game, which signifies to everyone it is back, Ben. It is that time of year, and I can't wait for it.
The Champions Classic tonight in Atlanta, Georgia. Michigan State and Kansas, and 2 more Blue Bloods. Duke and the young freshman taking on Mark Pope and his Kentucky Wildcats. Sean Rothstein will join us later in the show to preview everything you need to know for this monumental Tuesday in college hoops, and our second reveal of the college football playoff rankings here in the 12-team era and in 2024. All right, let's look back on a Monday Night Football finale to week number 10 of this 2024 NFL season. A game, Joe, that both teams really desperately needed last night in Los Angeles. The Rams trying to win their 4th consecutive game to get above 500. The Dolphins holding on to a sliver of hope for the remainder of this season. And that hope might be just a bit bigger on this Tuesday morning. Miami's defense holds down L.A. 23-15 in Tua Tagovailoa, and Tyreek Hill and the Fins offense does just enough. Still swimming is well said. Miami wins outright as a 2.5-point